Have you ever felt frustrated, overwhelmed, or stuck wasting time in admin instead of growing, leveraging, and scaling your business? Then this podcast is for you. Welcome to Delegate to Elevate, the podcast that's all about handing off what you don't need to do so you can focus on what you do best. So here's your host, Bonnie Schutz.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Delegate to Elevate. Get shit done. This is your host, Bonnie Schutz, and hello again. I am beside myself with joy because I actually found a bookkeeper to be on my show today because, yay, all of you, most of my guests actually have been asking me or telling me when what the first thing they delegate in their business or outsource in their business, and it is bookkeeping. So, amen to you, sister, for saving all of us. That was my first thing I let go of too. But anyway, I am here with Becky Nelson, founder of Balanced Office Solutions, bookkeeping and business advisory firm for entrepreneurs who'd rather not spend their lives buried in spreadsheets. Right here, from monthly bookkeeping and QuickBooks training to CFO level strategy, BOS. I love that. So much easier. Helps business owners get their financial shit together, grow with confidence, and reclaim their time. With nearly 30 years of experience in finance and ops, Becky brings a no BS, and that does not mean Bonnie Shut. That is BS. Judgment-free approach that's all about helping you make better business decisions without the stress. Mic drop. Welcome, Becky. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you today about all the things bookkeeping and finance. And
yes,
I know it's not a sexy topic, but
we'll make it sexy. Let's just show
we
a little.
will.
I was talking. I'll show a little shoulder there. Make it sexy. All right, let's do it. So, because you're a bookkeeper, let's flip this a little bit. When I ask my guests what they delegate or outsource first, they say bookkeeping 9 times out of 10. But for you, the bookkeeper, what was the first thing, or if you have outsourced something in your business, what was it for you?
Marketing.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes, the bane of my existence. I'm great at numbers, but I hate marketing.
Isn't that funny? You're either one or the other. It's like English or math,
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I are the English and math duo. Yeah, for sure. No, that's great. That's good to hear. And would that mean like website too and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so basically I hired somebody to do some website maintenance. My problem is I'm a perfectionist, right? Like we have the numbers and we have to get the numbers right. And perfectionism doesn't really work in website and, creative things. I can spend 2 hours doing something in Canva that can take somebody else 2 minutes to do. So I learned like that's not my thing. So it was, Squarespace, anything in Canva, and some social media marketing strategy, although weirdly enough, I am an English major.
Oh, wow.
And I love the writing piece of it. I just don't like all the
decorative, color coding and logos and Gotcha. That's funny too, because I've written a couple of books, and my best friend, when I told her about him, was like, she, from my childhood, she's known me forever. She was like, "You wrote and you authored some books?" She goes, "You don't even read." Like, oops, you got me. I like to write, but I don't like to read.
Yeah, writing gives you something else. Like I like to be able to give an opinion, and in writing, it sort of just kind of happens. But the marketing, other pieces, that's all BS. I don't want to. Yeah.
So tell me how you got started in the bookkeeping world.
Yeah, so I was working for a company about 20, something years ago. So I started in a bakery and I did their register stuff as a kid and some customer service, and kind of each job after that became a little bit more in the finance. And then I got a job in my early 20s and I was hired for like sales, and the CPA for them walked in the door and said, "You guys need bookkeeping help because this is a mess." And he's like, "What about her?" And pointed me out of like the sales floor.
Wow.
So I sat down with him and he started teaching me everything that he knew. And from there, I just kind of started doing it. And I've done it for tons of different types of businesses.
Yeah.
Mostly service-based businesses, small to large. I've worked for a $10 million company, and I've worked for companies that are, just starting off and
Sure.
making sure that systems are set up and processes are being withheld.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah.
So that means SOPs for bookkeeping are super important.
SOPs for bookkeeping are super important. I love that question. Honestly, because most people are like, yeah, well, I don't need that. And it's like, okay, well, if I were to go away one day,
Right.
or you were to hire an admin and they needed to do an invoicing process, how would they know how that goes?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
We are all about SOPs. In fact, you and I also chatted about a little issue you were having with a tech tool. And you're like, why did my person not give me an SOPs? I can do this
Yeah.
when she takes a month off.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And that's a mic drop moment. Have those SOPs, people. And I know from personal experience that they're kind of a what is it? A pain in the ass
Oh
to
my God. Yeah.
create. But my God, if you have them, even if they're a little bit outdated and you forget to update them, boy, would that help somebody on the back end when they're supporting you. It helps them get shit done when you're not there.
Yeah, and getting shit done, again, to your point with my issue when we got on the call, like I
Mhm.
spent 40 minutes looking into this. And if I
Yeah.
just had, even if it was wrong, it would still give me similar
Started
steps
you.
to go in. It started me in a direction where I was not floundering and I could be like, oh, okay, common sense. If I click here and I click there, this all makes sense. And now I don't have to spend 2 hours of my time doing something that
Yeah,
I'm.
that's the problem.
Yep.
That your time could be better used elsewhere. And
Yep.
that person could have done that in a snap. And
And
here you are going down the rabbit hole of all the help questions in the whatever those they call the directories of those software platforms that you had to go
oh,
find
I
your
asked
answers.
ChatGPT. I did all the things, and I still
Ugh.
didn't come up with the damn answer. So, and also just to say, most people are like, I hate bookkeeping, so I don't want the process. The
Right.
problem is you hate it, you don't want to do it. But if you had a simple process, because it doesn't have to be this extravagant SOP, it
True.
just needs to work for you and your
Step by
business
step.
based on what
Yeah.
you're doing. And so it doesn't need to be in a system or a 3 page. It can be I still keep like
Me too.
paperless, man, paperless. I'm old
Me
school.
too.
Do I have a
Old
project management
school.
system? Sure, but my ops person yells at me every time. She's like, "Did you write that down?" I was like, "Yeah, my paper list. How does that help if it's not in ClickUp?" And I'm like, "It's
Oh
fine."
Lord. Here, I'm taking this picture of this paper list for you to put it in ClickUp.
Yeah, yep.
Because you
So
like ClickUp and then I don't. Um, no, that is awesome though. So with that, you have an ops pro that helps you too, huh?
yeah, so I hired her a couple years ago and she came in as like an administrator. Now she's doing a bunch of bookkeeping. So we've kind of
Oh,
merged over time and I'm gone back to do more of the administrative work and more overview, quality control, and the advisory piece of the business
right.
for clients.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing in the industry at this point, and knowing your numbers is so important
Yeah.
whether you're starting out or you've been in business for 10 years. I have seen some crazy stuff that's super important for people to know, and
Know
I
your
know that,
numbers. Yeah.
yeah, and finances are stressful. I
Yeah.
completely understand that. They're stressful for me too. Like, it's not
As the
just a
bookkeeper.
you thing. Yeah, I mean, I have the same problems all the other businesses have. It doesn't,
Wow.
just because I do it for a living doesn't mean that
Golden
it's,
nugget right there. I have the same problems everybody else has. You may all come to me
yeah,
because I'm the bookkeeper and you don't want to do the books, but I have the same problems.
yeah.
That's interesting to hear. I mean, you're like these bookkeepers got their money just situated, but I can
Well,
compare it to me, like trying to do like maybe my calendar for myself. And when I used to do it for other people, I was like a rock star and there was, Tetris going on and all that stuff. And I was just, yes, I'm good. I look at my own calendar. I'm like, what the hell? Like, why
I
can't
always
I
say,
do my own
it
like
looks like
that?
a 2-year-old crayoned my calendar in with color markers. It's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're writing it on our pads of paper instead of looking at
Mhm.
our calendar. Oops. Oh well. We all have our things, but so I guess I'd like to ask then, so if you had to give a couple of what I call golden nuggets on the podcast of, because I think sometimes it's hard for people to wrap their mind around investing money in a service, right? And, especially if they're bootstrapping it and all this. Do you have some creative golden nuggets on how you can feel good about spending the money on a bookkeeper and how it's going to come back to you threefold kind of thing?
Yeah, so I would say a couple of things. One is if you're just starting out in business and you go to a bookkeeper and they're just going to sell you their bookkeeping service, but you're making, 10 grand a year, you should talk to somebody else. And I'm not saying that those people are bad people, but there are so many types of options for people to do things. It doesn't have to be in QuickBooks. It doesn't have to be in Excel. There are other platforms and programs, and maybe you just need a consulting hour to sit down with somebody and
Okay.
them to give you some direction.
Yeah.
If you have a full-fledged business and you're looking for a bookkeeper, you're nervous about spending the money, I think my first thing I would tell you is find somebody that you connected with.
Okay.
Like if you talk to a couple people, so for example, I have had some really interesting CPAs, and if I can't talk to you like a human when I
Yeah.
get on the phone with you and like relate to you, then I'm not going to hear you and I'm not going to understand what you're saying, and you're not explaining things to me, and it's like your parents telling you to do something, right? And when we were kids,
Yeah.
in there, out the other. Like I didn't hear you kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think finding somebody that you really like and can have a relationship with. I'm working with your finances and your money. I'm looking at your business,
Oh,
and you should be able to have a conversation with me and say, like, here are the things that I'm struggling. Again, the no BS and no judgment
yeah.
are really two things that I really embrace in my business
Love
because
it.
finance is so hard for people.
It is.
Um,
It's
there
hard
are,
to let them in. It's like you got to crack them
well, and
open
you
and
don't want
have
to be
let me
looked
in.
at.
Yeah.
You don't want to be judged. You don't want to be like, here's my box of receipts,
Yeah.
and I've had it happen.
I bet.
I've done multi-year projects where the person doesn't have an accounting system and they literally come with like the tub buckets full of
I
years of
remember my expense
statements,
report filing days back in corporate. Yes, when my
yep.
boss would hand me that box,
And you're like, what
do my
the?
expense reports, like, oh, and
The
how many
problem with
hours and
that
days
is
do I
that
have?
when people feel judged about that,
Right.
they don't start doing anything. It's kind of like a weight loss thing, right?
Yeah,
I need to lose weight, but I don't want to tell somebody that, and I don't want to tell them my problems.
exactly.
If you don't tell somebody and be sort of open about it, then we can't help you get to that next point. And that's where I think you need to find somebody that you
Yeah,
can relate to and like have a conversation with, because
that's
I think
important.
that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Definitely.
But
I
there
mean,
are
you and I
many
clicked
options.
immediately, so I'd trust you like immediately. And that's intuition. And I'd say that's female intuition, but guys may have it as well. We know who we're going to get along with. And if I'm letting you in and you've cracked and open that box, that Pandora's box that are my finances and my books and my company, that is so personal. And that's like having an executive assistant that you let into your personal life. It's so similar and I can compare it so easily. So thanks for that comparison, because it is super important to trust that person and let them into your vision. Let them know where you want to go financially, so that they can help you get there. They can say, oh, stop doing that. Stop spending that, Um,
And I think that's really important piece in general because I have like, it's like a business coach too. Like, and
yeah,
I can't say this, so
sure.
I'm using quotations, but legit, I'm sure just like you with other business owners, you're like their therapist almost,
Yes.
right? Like I have people that come to me and we're talking about family money problems and issues and how can they pay themselves more, and that's where the advisory piece comes in, not
Yeah.
just the bookkeeping piece, and how do you get from point A to point B. And if they can't really have that conversation with you to be able to like tell you that, then you can't get them to that next step, right? You
No.
can't help them move from here to there. So I
Right.
think the relationship piece is a lot. And I think the other thing is don't be so hung up on the money. Money makes a difference to all of us, right?
Sure.
There are some free options. There are some consulting. I do DIY bookkeeping with people where I
Okay.
teach them how to do their own bookkeeping, and then
Neat.
they get quarterly meetings with me
Mhm.
so that it's more palatable to somebody that's smaller and maybe doesn't have the cash flow, but still needs that help.
Yeah, absolutely. Or they're just trying to figure it out themselves and they've delegated to their husband
Listen,
who has
I
a
would
full-time
never
job.
delegate that to a family member. Like,
Oh,
I'm
that's a
glad you
whole
guys work
different
together, but like,
mm,
holy moly,
that's a
like,
whole
yeah.
different ball of wax, isn't it? And I can't tell you how many times I've said, should I bring somebody else in at this point so we don't argue over the money? Because I don't think another person would argue. So you may have to knock on my door and remind me of that at some point, if you will. I delegated it, but I cross-delegated it for free to the hubs. So, to me, that's
He is
another
good.
delegation way to do it if you are a little cash strapped at the time that I did that. But now he's owned it. And he's like, you can't give it away. Like, but
Which
you're
is
not
actually,
great at it, honey. So
but that's okay because
yeah,
it sounds like he likes doing it. So that's the
yes,
other thing. I don't like marketing, so I don't want to do it. So if it's not
right.
delegated, I don't do it. If you don't like bookkeeping and you don't like your finances, you have to get it done.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that's going to happen is you're going to come to year end
Yeah.
and you're
No
going to come to
kidding.
April and your CPA is going to say, you had a great year this year. You owe $12,000. And you're going to be like, holy,
Holy F ball at the camera for that one.
I cannot do this again. I'm so stressed.
No.
How do I pay for this? How do I catch up with these things?
Yeah.
And if you have your bookkeeping completed in September, I would tell you to be looking at you want to look at your books monthly or quarterly, and you
Yep.
want to be doing your bookkeeping monthly or quarterly, but you can look and you can say, oh, I'm making good money. Let me go to my CPA. A good bookkeeper will also remind you of this. Like if you have somebody, they may look at your books and go, oh, you're making $20,000 more than this year than last year. Maybe you
Yeah.
want to go to your CPA and have a conversation about taxes.
Ah, good advice. Good advice. So I love that. So there's a difference between accountants and CPAs and bookkeepers, which I am naive to. What's the difference? And do they need to be a CPA? Is that somebody you need to have as your bookkeeper?
So CPAs, most CPA companies, the CPAs are not doing your bookkeeping.
Okay, that
CPA is a
makes sense.
certified professional that went to school for, I don't know, I think it's 4 years. So
Something like that.
an additional 4 years, and they took a test to sit on the board. They have licensing, they have insurance, etc.
Yeah.
So just to give clarification, so there's a
Sure.
CPA, there's an EA, which is an enrolled agent. You
Oh,
can take a test through the IRS, and you can become an enrolled agent to do tax returns. And then there's something called the tax preparer, which would be like a me.
yeah.
Meaning I know enough to get myself in trouble and probably do your returns, but do I have the full educational background of that? No. Can I do it? Yes. Those are the three types of like what I would consider accountants, right?
Right.
A bookkeeper like myself is somebody that has years of experience doing finances. We put all the numbers together so that a CPA or an EA can look at your numbers and your personal stuff. Like that's where people kind of falter here. I've got a lot of questions this year about like, so look at my numbers and tell me what I owe for taxes. And I was like, okay, but are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have a mortgage? Does your
Not that
husband,
simple.
wife, your significant other work? Like all of these things take into place, and a CPA, an EA, or a tax preparer takes all of your personal stuff, brings everything, including the business, together and figures out what your tax liabilities are.
Gotcha.
So it's a little different. I have enough experience where I've done years of tax returns on the side. I don't do my clients' returns, and I do it underneath a different firm. But so I sort of know enough to get myself in trouble, so to speak, but usually I don't give tax stuff to clients. But I think finding a bookkeeper that you love and finding a CPA or an EA or tax preparer is really important. They work together. Like I work together with my clients.
I love that. That's awesome. Thanks for the info. Yeah, the more you know. I haven't
Things
you've
you never
expanded my
wanted to
mind.
know.
That's awesome. So, your business then, so do you have like a niche as to some industries you'd prefer to support, or do you just kind of take them all, whoever's got books?
So I take them all, except for I'm really based on service-based businesses.
Okay.
So I really focus on, people offering a service and not a product.
Yep.
I don't do
That's gotta be
inventory. It's
different.
not my favorite thing. Yeah. Yep. So service-based businesses, and I can work with anybody in the United States of America.
Nice. Very cool. Okay. Is that pretty common then for bookkeepers to only work within their country?
So every country has different rules. So Canada has different tax rules,
Mm,
and the bookkeeping comes into play with that. The
yeah.
UK, the same thing. And so typically we sort of stick within our countries.
I mentioned that because this podcast is reaches worldwide and
Uh,
to all English speaking countries. Mostly it can resonate,
yeah.
and so I would suggest that they find somebody in their own country. Then,
Yeah, every country gets a little bit more challenging. I
yeah,
have a client that's in Canada, but she's also her business is an American business. They
mm,
moved over the border, and so hers is
yeah,
a little bit differently. So I don't get involved too much into I think it's VAT tax and other things.
yeah.
But yes,
Oh,
you
yeah,
should
that's
find
right.
somebody in your own country because they're going to be super knowledgeable about those things to ensure that
Yeah.
they're setting you up properly and giving you the best advice they can give you.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I am so glad to have found you from my former guest, Amy Floyo,
Love
who has
her.
also been on the cast with me. She's fantastic and she recommended you to me. So thanks, Amy. Becky's awesome. If there's one last thing you'd like, or one last tidbit or golden nugget you'd like to give as a takeaway today, not to put you on the spot and make you dig deep, but even if it's not bookkeeping related, when it just comes to delegation and a mindset shift or something like that, what might you give us as a takeaway today?
Honestly, I would say just take a small step.
Okay.
People, we overanalyze things. I know I do as a business owner, and I look at something and I'm making this big mountain out of a molehill, but you can only do what you can do. And finding one step that you can take today to make your life easier in the long run with whatever it is,
Right.
whether it's VA services,
Yeah.
whether it's marketing, whether it's bookkeeping, just do that one thing and try to focus on that instead of trying to focus on hiring somebody and how
Yeah.
many spreadsheets do I need to have and all of the things,
SOPs.
right? SOPs and all the things. Like just do one thing.
I love it. That's a great moment. I love it. That's one thing. Baby steps,
One thing.
people. Take one
Mhm.
step in front of the other. Sorry. I dig- Showing my
Love that.
age again. I love that little song. That has stuck with me forever and ever.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for being here, Becky. And to all of you out there, boy, delegate your books. Unless you are just a mathematician and you are a bookkeeper, you don't have to delegate your books if you're a bookkeeper, I guess. But it's something if you're not into it. There are people that are bookkeepers are like VAs. There's a bajillion of them, but thank God there is because they have saved so many of us and made our
Honestly,
lives a little bit
Bonnie,
easier.
I love numbers.
Ah,
Seriously. It's a sad
God
thing.
bless
I
you.
know.
More power to you. All righty. Well, please subscribe and leave some comments and let me know if you have any questions for Becky, and I'll bring her back for something specific and we'll just yap about that one little subject next time. But delegate to elevate and get your books done, folks. Have a great day.
So that's it for today's episode of Delegate to Elevate. Head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing to win a $15,000 private VIP day with Bonnie herself. Be sure to head on over to delegate-to-elevate-podcast.com. That's with the number 2. And pick up a free copy of Bonnie's gift and join us on the next episode.